At 26, I was making $6 an hour with bill collectors calling me daily, living in a cockroach-infested apartment where the train literally shook my building. By 43, I owned a successful salon, but I still felt completely trapped, trading time for money. Today, I'm building towards a 7-figure business with income streams that work while I sleep. Here's what nobody tells you about your rock bottom moments. They're actually your biggest competitive advantage. At 26, I was living in a cockroach and mouse-infested studio apartment in Back Bay, Boston, where the train literally shook my building every time it passed. I had just lost my little brother in an accident, and bill collectors were harassing me daily, and I was borrowing money from my grieving mother just to survive. I remember thinking that I should just call it quits, give up, and move back home to New Hampshire. And then something happened that changed everything. I found Tony Robbins' cassettes on the street. He used to have something called Personal Power on moving day in Boston. And what I learned from those tapes wasn't just about making more money, it was about changing the meaning of what happens to you. That year, I quadrupled my income. But the real transformation was just beginning. Fast forward to my 40s. I owned a Best of Boston hair salon. I was making 6 figures, but I felt completely trapped. Every single dollar that I earned required me standing behind a chair for 8 hours a day. I had the Sunday scaries every week despite my external success. That's when I made a decision at 43 years old that everybody thought was crazy. I started a YouTube at the age of 43, not to become internet famous, but to build something that could work while I slept. Today, at 48 years old, I've built multiple income streams serving hundreds of people deeply rather than chasing millions superficially. My videos from years ago are still generating income today. I'm Megan Graham, and I help women over 40 build successful YouTube businesses through purposeful, strategic action. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to share my complete money story from rock bottom to 7-figure business that I'm building and prove that your age and experience are actually your biggest competitive advantages. Because if you have ever felt trapped by your current income or thought you were too old to start over, this story will show you exactly what's possible. But before I tell you how I escaped the money trap, I need to take you back to one of the darkest periods in my life, because what I'm about to share with you proves that rock bottom moments often precede the biggest breakthroughs. At 26 years old, I was making a mere $6 an hour as a hair colorist apprentice in Boston. Bill collectors were calling me daily. I was living in a $700 a month studio apartment where the train connected to my building. Every time it went by, the whole place shook. There were cockroaches, there were mice, and truly, I was barely making ends meet. The worst part actually wasn't the money, it was that I had just lost my little brother Ian in a terrible accident. Everything in my life had fallen apart at once, and I remember that feeling of sitting in my apartment thinking that I should just give up, pack everything up, and move back home with my mom. That's when something happened, and I can only describe it as divine intervention. I remember I was walking my dog, Cubby. It was late one night, and it was September 1st, which is moving day in Boston, when everybody puts their stuff or their old trash on the street. As I was walking Cubby, I saw this big cassette set that said Tony Robbins' Personal Power, and I remember thinking twice about taking it because I felt embarrassed, but I was so desperate. What I learned from those cassettes changed everything. Not in the way that you might think. Tony taught me something crucial. You can't change what happens to you. You can pray, you can wish, but you can't change it. But you can change the meaning. I couldn't bring my brother back. I wish I could, but I couldn't. But I could choose what the loss meant for my life. Would I let it destroy me, or would it fuel me to build something meaningful? I realized that not having money was only making everything worse. Money might not be the most important thing in the world, but when you don't have it, it becomes the most important thing in your life because you just can't meet your basic needs. That year, I quadrupled my income. Not because the grief went away, but because I took massive action every single day. I had a website made, I changed how I dressed, I started marketing myself. I learned that you can't change your circumstances by staying the same person. But here's what nobody tells you about success. Sometimes achieving your goals creates an entirely new set of problems. Fast forward to my 40s. I owned a Best of Boston hair salon on Newbury Street. From the outside looking in, I had made it. Despite the financial success, I knew I had more potential and I knew it was being wasted. I was making great money, but I felt physically trapped because every dollar required my presence, mixing color formulas, and standing behind the chair for 8 hours a day. Most of the time, I honestly didn't even take lunch or breaks because I was just so darn busy every single day. I had Sunday scaries every week. I dreaded Mondays. Despite my external achievements, right? I had money to spend, but I wasn't enjoying myself. I was alive, but I wasn't really living. I was going through the motions of a successful life, but I felt completely unfulfilled, and I actually felt very unhappy every day, regardless of how much money I was earning. Here's the thing: external success doesn't guarantee internal fulfillment or freedom. I was working harder, not smarter. I was trading time for money in the most expensive way possible with my life. That's when I made a decision at 43 that everybody thought was crazy, but it turned out to be the smartest move of my entire life. I started YouTube at 43 years old, proving that all those age myths are complete nonsense. In fact, my life experience became my biggest advantage. I had patience, authenticity, and a clear vision that younger creators simply couldn't match. But here's the key: I didn't have desperation energy. I could build strategically while maintaining my salon income. This certainly was not a burn the boats moment. It was a smart bridge strategy. I wrote down my goals and I carried them with me everywhere. Every decision that I made, I asked myself, is this getting me closer to or further away from my goal? That simple framework changed everything. My mindset shifted from I'll try to I must. When you truly commit to something, and when you move from just kind of hoping and trying to knowing, everything changes. But more importantly, I discovered the power of attraction marketing. Instead of chasing clients, I could create content that would draw my ideal clients to me. But I made a crucial discovery about YouTube that most people completely miss, and it's why most creators stay broke. YouTube isn't social media. It's the second largest search engine in the world. 3 billion people search YouTube every single day looking for solutions to their problems. When you understand this, everything changes. This is where working smarter, not harder, becomes everything. Instead of posting 5 times a day on social media like TikTok or Instagram and hoping that somebody notices, I could create one strategic YouTube video that would work for me for years. 1 view can equal 1 client when your content is strategically created for the right audience. I don't know about you, but I would rather have 100 views from my ideal clients than 1 million views from random people. Small targeted audiences are infinitely more valuable than millions of random followers. And here's the real advantage: your content keeps working for years. My videos from 2020 are still attracting clients today. While social media posts vanish in 24 hours, YouTube content becomes an asset that grows in value over time. Your expertise builds like a savings account. Every video adds to your credibility, And that credibility eventually converts into income. This is attraction marketing at its finest. Your content does the selling for you. For 3 years, I built this system while still running my salon. But the transition I made at 46 was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. From ages 43 to 46, I posted consistently every week, regardless of my demanding work schedule. I used the getting closer or further away from my goal framework for every decision. I was working smarter by building multiple income streams while still maintaining my salon. I focused on consistency over perfection, both in my content as well as my equipment. I honestly didn't need the fanciest camera or the perfect lighting. What I needed to do was to show up and provide value through attraction marketing, drawing the right people to me instead of chasing everyone. Because truly, if you think that your niche is everyone, you are going to reach absolutely no one. By 46 years old, my YouTube income had grown to the point where I could confidently transition away from the salon. This wasn't a desperate leap, it was a confident choice made from a position of strength. Today, at 48 years old, I'm living a life I couldn't have imagined when I was only making $6 an hour. But the real transformation, it is not just about the money. I've built 43,000 subscribers through strategic attraction marketing. I'm creating multiple income streams that work while I sleep through a systemic approach that doesn't require me to hustle 24/7 or to chase every algorithm change. I serve hundreds of people deeply rather than trying to reach millions superficially. My purpose-driven business feels like an invitation, and it doesn't feel like manipulation. This is attraction marketing. I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything. I'm simply sharing what has worked with me with people who are ready to hear it. My content has become something that appreciates over time. Videos that I made years ago are still generating income today, and that is the power of working smarter, not harder, building something sustainable rather than chasing quick wins. But the most important lesson I learned, it's not about business strategy, and it's actually not about YouTube tactics. It's about something much deeper. I learned to reframe too old as perfectly positioned with experience. Most people fear failure more than they fear not trying, but what I realized is that my biggest regret would be wondering what if. Attraction marketing isn't just nice to have, it's a competitive advantage. When you're not operating from desperation, you make better decisions. When you're building from a place of abundance rather than scarcity, everything flows differently. This is what true attraction marketing feels like. Your experience should fund your freedom, not your burnout. Every challenge you've overcome, every skill you've developed, every lesson that you've learned, that is your knowledge bank, and it's worth so much more than you realize. The gratitude practice that I learned from Tony Robbins all those years ago when I was 26 still transforms difficult situations into growth opportunities. When you change the meaning you give to your circumstances, you can change your entire life. If this story is resonating with you, if you're ready to stop feeling trapped by your current income situation, there's something that I want to share with you. This exact system, from the mindset shifts to the technical setup to the strategic content creation using attraction marketing, this is what I'm teaching in my upcoming course because I wish that someone had given me this roadmap when I was getting started. You don't need to figure this out alone. You don't need to make the expensive mistakes that I made. You don't need to spend 3 years building a bridge when you could have a clear blueprint from day one. You're probably wondering, Megan, this sounds really amazing, but I have no idea of how to even start making videos. I'm not tech savvy and I hate being on camera. That's exactly why I created my free camera toolkit. It eliminates every technical barrier and gives you everything that you need to create professional looking YouTube videos today. I created the exact tool that I wish that I had when I started. Click the link below, enter your email, and I will send it straight to you. From $6 an hour to building a 7-figure business, if I can do it, so can you. Your time is now.